If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard in Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Pro Wrestle Zone podcast. Dan the Beast, alongside with me is JJ Sins, or should I say Double J, JJ Sins, and that's Double J SINNZ. That's his name. And obviously, you can tell by our absence, DVD Freak's not here. Professor is not here, unfortunately. So we're going to try and maintain control here and see where this takes us. But this is our annual, or should I say our first annual PWZ Awards, I guess you would say. We're just going to be going over favorite moments, best guests, worst guests, favorite matches, favorite debuts / comebacks, funny moments, worst moments, and all sorts of other stuff. But without that being said, JJ, how you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing good. Doing great. It's lazy Sunday, if you will. Lazy Sunday in Chicago. How are you?
Man, I am just phenomenal. But, I mean, didn't really start off on a good note, as yesterday we did lose Brodie Lee, also known as Luke Harper from WWE. Personally known as John Huber, who unfortunately died yesterday due to non-COVID lung issues. And I'm guessing he died from home, or I believe he died in a facility or a center or some type of medical center.
Yeah, I remember hearing his wife. It was a Mayo Clinic. I don't know if that sounds familiar to anybody. She gave props to the staff at the Mayo Clinic. I don't know if he passed away in their facilities. I don't know. God only knows. But she put them over in her post. And when I found out at work, when through Messenger, and man, my stomach dropped. I was in disbelief. You saw my message. I'm like, no, that's not true. And then you and Freak and Rick did some convincing. And I was like, oh my God, like, what the hell? Like,
well, you know what? That was the thing, too, because before it was even confirmed by his wife, Amanda, my girlfriend had messaged me on Facebook, and she was like, you know this guy? And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, where'd you get that source from? I didn't believe it at first. So, going through social media, Facebook, Instagram, it was confirmed by AEW that John Huber passed away, and then later on it was confirmed by Amanda and what his cause of death was. And you know what, it was just extremely unfortunate. He died on the 26th, just 10 days after his 41st birthday.
Wow, I didn't know that. Damn, dude. Yeah, that he's so young for someone for a wrestler to pass away in their prime, with so much potential. It's unfortunate because he was one of my favorites, and because he was a big dude that moved like a small dude. I remember I told you in that message. I remember watching NXT when the whole Wyatt family began. When I believe NXT was on Hulu at the time. Was NXT on? It was on Hulu or something before it was even on the network. There was only one way you could watch NXT, and it was I believe it was every Tuesday. And I remember watching, the Wyatt family and becoming a fan of Luke Harper's. Well, see, I know him as Luke Harper. I don't know him as Brodie Lee. I don't. I would like to say I know all about his indie work, but no. Became a huge fan of his in when he was in WWF as Luke Harper, and big dude. He reminded me of Brodie Lee, Brodie. What am I thinking of?
Bruiser Brodie.
Bruiser Brodie. Sorry, yeah, you reminded me of Bruiser Brodie. I became a fan of his. Just him and Eric Rowan should have became tag champs. Many a time they should have been tag champs.
Right.
When during the Wyatt family incarnation. But anyways, it was a shock. It sucks. It's awful.
Well, I mean, Luke Harper did win tag team gold on 3 occasions, I believe. I believe one time he was down in NXT with Eric Rowan as part of the Wyatt family. But then as soon as he got called up to the main roster, they did this formation of the Wyatt family where Randy Orton was involved, leading into WrestleMania 33 with Orton taking on Bray Wyatt for the WWE Championship. But prior to that, Luke Harper and Randy Orton were the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And then at WrestleMania 34, Harper and Rowan reformed as a tag team as the Bludgeon Brothers and won the SmackDown Tag Team Gold at WrestleMania 34 in 2018.
Yeah, I remember that. I just wanted to see them as champs and when they were in the Wyatt family. That's when because that shit was over.
And he's also had his single success as well. He was also a former one-time Intercontinental Champion, defeating Dolph Ziggler on an episode of Monday Night Raw just prior to the 2014 Survivor Series. So, phenomenal guy. I was looking at one of his episodes on the WWE Network. I'm not really sure or recall what the name of the show was, but it was basically just him backtracking and reflecting back on his career and his roots. He started as Huber number 2, and then obviously he processed his way through the Indies, going to Ring of Honor. I believe he had a stint in CZW before being called up to the WWE by John Laurinaitis. And a funny story about that, I guess he had gotten a call by John, and he left him a message. And as soon as John was about to give him the phone number, I guess the line disconnected. So it was like, oh, shit. So he calls Cesaro, and he was like, Cesaro, please tell me you have John Laurinaitis' number. And he was just like, oh, yeah. So I guess he tried to call him again. He tries to get in contact with John. Phone disconnects again until he finally gets in touch with him, and John was all like, oh yeah, we want you to come up, we want to sign you to a deal. And that's how the Wyatt family started, being called up to the main roster. And obviously by the time he got up to the WWE his later years, he was pretty much kicked to the can. And I'm not sure if it was just Vince being Vince, but I know Luke was also injury prone throughout his tenure in WWE along with Rowan. So I'm not sure if that played a factor in it as well. But he finally got a glimpse of what he was really made of by the time he arrived in AEW. He was Mr. Brodie Lee. He was the leader of the Dark Order. And if I had to see a breakout superstar in 2021, it definitely would have been Brodie Lee. I think he would have been AEW champion by next year. Yeah. I mean, the way I see it, you had a guy who was so full of charisma, full of talent, tall guy with a full tank of gas who could just go in there and perform like a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
He was just phenomenal. And, he even played through video games too. He was like the one guy I loved his arsenal of, just his moveset. I thought the guy had a phenomenal moveset, and just looking at him, just live too, like on TV. Like I just thought the guy was phenomenal, and the way they just tarnished his career up in Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
Very big missed opportunity. He was the modern day Bruiser Brody, in my opinion.
Yeah. That and the match where I believe he lost the belt he lost the IC title to Dolph Ziggler. Am I right? It was in a ladder match, and
it was. I believe it was at TLC 2014.
it was the first match of the night. That match not only was the best match of the night, but also is definitely, I'd say, my top either 5 or top 10 ladder matches of all time. That was a hell of a match. And he only, unfortunately, Luke Harper, Brodie Lee, whatever you want to refer to him, only held the IC title for less than a month. Yeah. And I remember being like, I was like, man, this match was great. But I was also pissed that he lost, that Harper lost the belt. I was hoping he would have had a meaningful, long term run, but that didn't happen.
And
yeah,
and then also during the duration of yesterday, obviously many superstars, many employees who've worked with John express their sorrow and their condolences through social media. One man in particular that really had a heartfelt message was Bray Wyatt, and I do have the message right here. I'm just going to read it for you guys. This is from Bray Wyatt.
I didn't read it because I had read too many messages and I was, I couldn't bring myself to read it. So yeah, please read it out loud, Dan, please.
So this is the heartfelt tribute from Bray Wyatt. He was like, "You were my best friend, my brother, my partner, my Terry Gordy. We changed this whole game because we refused to do it any other way but our way. We were always at our best when we were a team. I think we both knew it. We fought like brothers because we were. I'm so goddamn pissed. This isn't how it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be us fat, bald, and useless running Wyatt family spots in high school gyms in our 70s. Where do we go now? What do I do knowing I'll never hear your condescending sarcasm as I'm riding high? I miss you so fucking much already. I would do anything just to live through our worst moments again, and I can't believe you're gone. I'm so sorry, brother. I'm so sorry. You will always be a part of me, whether I like it or not. Without you, everything is different, and I hope Amanda truly knows that I am here, not just to say it, but because I love them too. I will make sure your son knows the incredible man you were. Not the legends people will tell, but the real you that very few people got to see. I promise I'll put him over clean in dark matches when he's old enough, just like I promised. I'm hurt. I'm hurting so bad. I wish I had a chance to say goodbye, but then again, it's Saturday, and you know what that means. Save me a seat next to you wherever you are. That's where I belong. I'll be there when it's my time. Goodbye forever, Brody. I love you.
Damn.
Uh-oh. A locked and loaded Superman punch. Down goes Rowan. And this is that next gear, that extra level inside the big dog that makes Roman Reigns who the hell he is. Roman with the target in sight. And a full ramp of steam. What the? What's that? No. It's Harper. What the world? Harper.
That's fucking fucked up, man. How long were they on the road together? Couple years.
You know what? When they arrived, or when they started pairing with each other in WWE, it had to have been at least, I think, like 2012, 2013. So right before Brody was released last year, or requested his release last year. I want to say like the duration was like 7 years.
Yeah,
maybe longer.
Yeah, because obviously before they made it to WWE television and got called up, they were, on the doing live events, on the road for that. That's insane. So yeah, you're on the road with someone for that long, for that many years. And on top of that, you're in a stable together. You're working together. Obviously, you're going to ride together. That's it's upsetting. It's yeah, like I said, it caught me off guard reading that. I didn't believe it, but yeah. Hey, I'm at a loss of words for pretty much. I was speechless when I read that. Like I was like, really? Like, but yeah, he'll Brodie Lee will always be remembered forever. I mean, he's forever immortalized on the network, on AEW, his indie work. He'll never be forgotten.
I'm very glad there was no animosity, as immediately after hearing about his passing, WWE wrote on all their social medias paying their respects to John Huber, and they also made a playlist on the WWE network of his best moments. So, with that being said, we here at the PWZ would like to pay our condolences to the Huber family.
Yes.
God bless. But with that being said, let's move right along here, as we're going to go a little bit back in time at some events that happened on this specific day here on December 27th. Back in 1944, World Heavyweight Champion Orville Brown beat Ed Strangler Lewis in a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Ooh!
So, a little bit old school there, but we gotta respect our roots, where we come from. So that's why it is.
That was a hell of a match, man. Like 1944, you said?
Yeah.
That's woo. What am I watching? I gotta watch old stuff on. Is there any of that on YouTube? Any wrestling from the 40s?
Man, something, anything recorded wise, that's actually live documented, probably wouldn't be till maybe like the 50s, maybe 60s.
Yes.
But I mean, you could try. I haven't really necessarily looked back and said, hey, let me look at some stuff from like 1944 or 19something, but I mean, I'm sure there's something up there. I remember me and Rick looking at an old article, and back in the day, the way they used to make their steel cages, they used to make them from, I believe, chicken coops, and they used to use like barbed wire from like chicken coops.
What?
Yeah, and by the time it got to like the 80s, WWF was already doing steel cages, but Memphis, for example, wasn't really quite up to date, as they were still going through that old school trend of using those types of cages.
Really? I gotta look at that. That's insane. I remember when I was young, I had a VHS. It was black and white. It was my grandfather's, it was my grandparents, where I used to always watch wrestling. And there was old black and tape VHS tape I would watch. And I remember, I want to say Gorgeous George was on there with the guy with the roses. Didn't he have flowers? Yes. That's how old it was, and that's probably 50s, I'm guessing, at least. I mean, maybe. Like, this was old, and you gotta keep in mind, this is me. I was watching this like in the 90s, and it was a lot different from what I was used to. But I still watched it. I know the tape is no longer in existence. It's probably gone, unfortunately. But yeah, you like you said, you got to respect that wrestling and its roots.
Yes. So, going further down here, we go to the year, I believe this is 1965. This took place in Denver, Colorado. This was an AWA event. We had a non-title match with Vern Gagne and Mighty Igor Vodik. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name. They defeated AWA Tag Team Champions Larry the Axe Hennig and Harley Race.
Oh, wow.
Now, that is a team that I was not expecting.
Same here.
That's something I'm just going to have to do my research on, or at least ask Rick about, since he is a Larry the Axe fan.
Yeah. And a huge AWA.
And let's jump the gun a little bit here to the year 1998. This was something that me and JJ were just talking about before we pressed the record button here. This was WCW Starrcade in Washington, D.C., back on December 27th of 1998. Hard to believe this is already 22 years old.
You're making me feel old. Jeez Louise, man. Yeah.
So let's go over the match card here. WCW Cruiserweight Champion Billy Kidman defeated Juventud Guerrera and Rey Mysterio in a triple threat match. And then we also had WCW Cruiserweight Champion Billy Kidman pinning Eddie Guerrero. I'm not really familiar with the event, so I'm not really sure what really transpired here.
Kidman did 3 matches that night, I think. I think he pulled triple duty, if I'm not mistaken. I think. I'm not too sure.
Well, that's something I'm just going to have to look through here. But next match we have here, we had Perry Saturn defeating Ernest Miller. We had the IWGP champion Scott Norton and Brian Adams defeating Fit Finlay and Jerry Flynn. WCW TV champion Conan defeating Chris Jericho.
Oh, wow.
Eric Bischoff pinning Ric Flair. We had Diamond Dallas Page defeating the Giant. And then the match that I'm sure everybody remembers, Kevin Nash defeating Goldberg to win the World Heavyweight Championship, conquering Goldberg's undefeated streak with the help of Scott Hall and the Taser.
And Scott Hall had a staff shirt on. Don't forget about that.
Yes.
I don't know why he had a staff shirt on, but yeah, he had a staff shirt on.
You know, unfortunately, that was the beginning of the end for WCW. I would say that's the event that caused the beginning of the end.
Really? You would say so?
I would say either that or obviously the finger poke of doom that happened on Nitro.
Yeah, I would say well, you could say Nash winning the belt would have been the start, because I think Nash lost it a week later or 2 weeks later to Hogan in the finger poke of doom.
It was like one of those things where like Hogan had retired for a little bit.
He was running for president.
He came back and she was just like, "Oh, I want the World Heavyweight Championship." And this was during a time where NWO was going through its conflict. It definitely wasn't the same faction as it used to be, as by mid-98, the factions were split. You had your NWO Hollywood, which was NWO Black and White. And then you had your Wolfpack, which was Black and Red, where everybody tried to act like a gangster. And, you know, Kevin Nash tried to act like that dad from the Cookout.
Yeah, it got ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie, I was cheering when I saw Goldberg losing to Nash, because I was never a Goldberg fan. Never ever a Goldberg fan. Still, and I'll never be a Goldberg fan. I always fucking hated Goldberg. So, yeah, that was. I can't believe that happened 22 years ago. I was 14, man, and I remember watching it as it happened. That's just insane. 22 years ago, yeah. I remember we had a front room full of people, you know, as that happened. The good old days when again, and I've said it many a times, back then you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't walk down the street or go to a store and not see like more than 3 or 4 people in a wrestling t-shirt. That's how popular wrestling was back then. It was, it was legit. a part of pop culture. It was insane, and it didn't discriminate. You had men, women, all kinds of men and women of different ages, races. It didn't matter how you look. You had everybody loved wrestling. So those were the days.
Yes, sir. But coming into 2020 here.
Sterilized hypo to shoot a sex machine drug. They got 24 hours. Shoot off all his between the legs. 96 tears through 24 hours. Sex once every hour. Run, Pauline. Johnny hit and run, Pauline. Johnny hit and run, Pauline. Johnny hit and run, Pauline. LA bus doors open. Kicking both doors open. When arrested on 6th Street. Didn't understand dying. He was still awake. Johnny hit and run, Pauline. 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 Living really. She was still awake. Johnny hit and run, Pauline. Johnny hit and run, Pauline. Johnny hit and run, Pauline. Johnny hit and run, Pauline.
Let's get on with our award ceremony, so to say. Unfortunately, Rick's not here and Freak's not here to be present for their awards, or so to say. But the first topic I want to get into is like best matches. I want to start out with you, JJ. What would you say like what would you say like the top 3 matches of 2020 were, and not specifically WWE. You can name like All Japan, like New Japan, NXT, Ring of Honor.
That's the thing. I don't really watch too much of today's product, and I feel horrible saying that.
Well, if anything, just pick one then.
Yeah. And I know I have watched recent wrestling because of the podcast, which I'm happy about. So if I'm trying to, the only thing I can remember from this year, which is awful, I do have a horrible memory. I have a lot going on. I want to say, oh shit, my favorite matches of this year. It would definitely have to be from NXT, and I'm gonna go with the recent women's match that we saw at what was the most recent pay-per-view for NXT?
It was NXT.
Oh, well, no, War Games. Wasn't it War Games?
Yes, War Games.
Yes, I'm gonna go with the women's and the men's match as like my two favorite of the year. Because one, if I do watch anything of today's product, it is NXT, and yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with that. Those two matches. I know you watch more wrestling than I do, so I'm anxious to hear what your favorite is. And I feel awful saying this because I should be watching Impact. I should be watching Ring of Honor, and I know I should be watching AEW, but time constraints, unfortunately.
Oh boy. Talking about matches, there's so many to choose from. But I'm just gonna go off a list that I created here. So one of the first matches that comes to mind right off the bat is the 2020 Men's Royal Rumble match. I thought that was just phenomenal, just for the aspect of the return that we've been waiting for what, 9 years?
Yeah. Was it 9 years?
Yeah, it was 9 years because he had retired the night after WrestleMania 27, and he officially announced his retirement. He vacated the World Heavyweight Championship. If you guys already know who I'm talking about, it's the Rated R superstar, Edge. So seeing him come back, that got me a little teary. I'm not gonna lie about that. And you could just tell by the expression on his face, and he was just so overwhelmed by the capacity and the ovation from the crowd. It was one of those moments that I'll never forget. That was the one positive thing of 2020, at least. So Edge coming back, and he was one of the final. I think he was like one of the final final three.
I believe he was final four. Yeah. Yeah, I think
because I remember it was. Let me see. It was Edge, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, and I believe Randy Orton, if I'm not mistaken. Those might have been the final four, but it was just so cool. Yeah, you know what? I think it was Randy Orton because I think they were teasing Edge versus Orton going into WrestleMania 36.
Yeah, so. And that never happened, right? And I remember we all talked about that and thinking that was going to happen, and we were wrong.
Honestly, I wanted to see Edge versus AJ Styles.
I'd have been down with that. I would have been okay with that.
But I would have loved to see Edge versus AJ Styles, obviously, if this pandemic never occurred. But unfortunately, we did end up getting Undertaker and AJ Styles in the Boneyard match, which is unfortunately the last recorded match for The Undertaker, as he did retire this past year officially at the 2020 Survivor Series, marking his 30-year anniversary. I definitely would have loved to seen Edge versus AJ. Maybe somewhere down the line, maybe like a SummerSlam match, maybe another WrestleMania match. It's a tough call. It's definitely a tough call. But going into my next match, now this match was recent, but I love this match. Only because this guy, he came from rags. He went through the rags of pro wrestling for like the past 20 years. And he was basically at a circumstance where he wanted to retire from pro wrestling. He was like, you know what? If I don't get a deal, I'm done. And this guy is Hard Knocks. The guy's from New York. And the match I'm talking about is from Full Gear 2020 AEW World Heavyweight Championship match between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
I knew that's where you were going. Yeah.
I fucking love that match. Despite me being questionable on what the fuck Eddie was wearing, I mean, obviously he was paying homage to one of his idols. Yeah. But, that was the whole definition of storytelling. They had a good backstory. They showed so much emotion. And the fact that, Eddie just sat there and took it like a man and cried while, tapping out.
Yeah.
It was like, that was so heartfelt for me. I haven't felt that heartfelt about a wrestling match probably since, oh boy, I don't know how long. I mean, I don't want to backtrack too far, but
it had you emotionally invested. When I watched that match, watching him tap out with the barbed wire in his fucking mouth, I remember we covered that. That was some insane storytelling. You're right. Yeah, damn. But yeah, I remember you and Freak were not in this outfit, saying he looked like a reject from the Spirit Squad.
Well, yeah, dude. He looked like a knocked off Spirit Squad member. Like, hey, I want to try out, but he got kicked out during like the first gig because he was too, thick.
That was a fun show. I vaguely remember recording it, but it was fun. Wow. What else? Give me some other your favorite matches, because now you're bringing back memories.
Another match I'm definitely gonna have to give praise to was this was on AEW Dynamite, and this was during Chris Jericho's 30th anniversary celebration. And unfortunately, this was one of his last matches. I believe this was his last match. I'm not too sure, but it was the dog collar match between Cody and Brodie Lee.
I heard about that recently, obviously.
That was brutal.
Really?
That was so brutal. And I think it had to have been the last match, because I think after that, I didn't see Brodie Lee for a long time, because I guess he was out with an injury. But, kind of reflecting back on that, I wonder if that had anything to do with his lung issue.
I was thinking that. Now, from what I recently heard, what through YouTube and all that shit, did Brodie Lee lose the title that day?
I believe he did lose the title, yes.
Okay, and then I remember reading on the dirt sheets, it's like everybody was pissed off. He had a short ring, and then now he's off TV. So, and maybe that was because of, the health issues he had. I'm guessing maybe they were keeping it under wraps.
You gotta be kidding me! The audacity of a man, the audacity of you, Cody, to return like that! You have been gone for 5 weeks while I've been here doing the work, being undeniable! Oh my God, the audacity of Cody. What kind of man sends another man to do his work? Did you see what I did to Dustin? Did you see what Anna Jay did to Brandy? What kind of man, Cody? What kind of man lets his wife post Instagram thirst traps while calling me daddy? What kind of man stays away in a little bubble? A man like you, Cody. But you are no man. You are a coward. Give me that silver. Give it to me. Get the hell out of here. Cody, you can run on for a long time, but sooner or later, Brodie Lee is going to cut you down. And I am going to take this dog collar, Cody. I am going to wrap it around your neck. I am going to wrap it around that God-forsaken tattoo. And you, Cody, will have nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. You, Cody, you have 1 week to answer me. Are you a man or are you a coward?
So I remember reading that, the fans were very angry that Brodie Lee was off TV. And I'm guessing why he was off TV. It might have been the whole health issue. All right? Now that certain things have come to light.
Yeah. Unfortunately, those might have been the circumstances leading up to his unfortunate passing. But let me tell you, he definitely prevailed a lot more in AEW within a short time than he did 7 years in WWE. Let's put it that way.
Really?
I would say so. I think he accomplished more in just a short amount of time than what he would ever accomplish in WWE. You know, transitioning from like main roster shows to the fucking C shows like Main Event and, you know, Superstars.
He was an instant instant star for AEW. Instant get. And yeah, it's sad. And you know, I gotta go back and watch all that. I just remember he was the exalted one from the Dark Order. I know about that, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of the Dark Order. So, but I'll have to go back and watch some of that stuff, and definitely gotta go back and watch that dog collar match with Cody, because I've heard about it multiple times today. So,
and then I'd probably have to say one of the last matches that really stand out to me, only because he finally got the opportunity of saying, "Hey, I have the NXT Championship," was Keith Lee winning the NXT Championship at the Great American Bash event against Adam Cole, ending Adam Cole's long reign. I think he was NXT champion for about like 403 days.
Shit, that long?
I believe so. It might have been a little bit longer than that. I know Finn Balor's about to pass his record as, you know, longest reigning champion. Obviously, that was touching for Keith Lee because he was paying tribute to his mentor, the man who trained him, who got him into the world of professional wrestling. And, you know, Lee was out of circumstance where he had failed maybe like 2 or 3 times trying to get into the WWE.
Yeah, was it blood pressure issues? I believe.
I don't know if it was blood pressure issues or just the way he presented himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I guess Vince wasn't too big of a fan of him, and I mean, he necessarily didn't really have any like personality, I guess you would say. So, you know, and he gave a lot of credit to Pat Patterson to the bask in his glory. Is what, you know, he's referred to nowadays. So.
Then what wrestler am I thinking that it was blood pressure issues, and that's why they didn't get in the WWE? I can't remember who it was. It was somebody that was in Lucha Underground. And it was. I thought it was because of blood pressure issues, like medical issues. But
not that I recall, but that's something I'm gonna have to look back on and check out for myself. But let's move on to the next topic. JJ, what would you say was the funniest moment from this show?
When we all played drunk wrestling trivia.
Oh, God.
Sober. I know you were sober.
I was sober.
Were you?
I had to have been. I mean, somebody had to maintain it at least.
Yeah, because we kept calling you that night. It was me, Rick, and Freak that were doing something. We finished, or I think something happened where like the show wasn't going good or some shit. And then we kept calling you, we kept bugging you. You had fallen asleep. Yeah, you had fallen asleep. And then the show turned into, we called Porter from Porter's Unboxing. and Donnie Langston, I believe, right? This episode is on Donnie Langston's YouTube channel, and I remember for an hour or two, we did a drunk trivia, and that was fun. I had a great time. So, yeah.
Okay. You know what? One of the moments I'd probably have to recall, it was an episode with me, Rick, and Freak. And I think Rick probably had a little bit too much to drink. This episode was not released, so no point of going back into the archives and trying to look for it because it's not up there. But I think we were at least like 35, 45 minutes into the show, and, you know, Rick's just like, oh, I got to look for some snacks. So this dude's going through his cabinets trying to find popcorn. And I think he made like some pizza rolls or a Hot Pocket or something. But then the guy gets so drunk, he passes out on his desk. And me and Freak are just like, what do we do? And he's just sitting there like this, snoring, like, oh boy. So I'm like, well, this show's been canceled. Hey, maybe we'll have like a funny moments montage for the end of the year. Never know. Check that out. And I remember his wife waking him up, you know, just like, Rick, and Rick wakes up and he's like, I gotta go, guys. And I'm just like, all right, well, all right, Rick, you know, take care. And, we knew from the start of the show when Rick was just like, welcome to the Pro Wrestle Zone podcast. I'm like, oh, shit.
It's going to be a shit show.
Yeah, but I think that was like the worst of the worst, but it was just like so funny. And then you have DVD Freak going through his cabinets like, oh, I'm going to make me a pot pie. And I'm like, what's with you guys getting hungry when you're drunk? I'm like the opposite.
Really? Oh, man, I get drunk.
I am the complete opposite. Like, when I drink, I like, you know, I'm more settled. Like, I just want to stay in one place, vibe a little bit, you know, talk to some people. But other than that, I really don't get hungry like that when I drink.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a rarity, man, because I know a lot of people that they want to drink it around here. They want to drink, get drunk, and then go get White Castles. Do you got White Castles on the East Coast?
Oh, my gosh, dude. We do, but not in my area. We would have to travel to the next state, unfortunately, if we want White Castle.
Yeah, White Castle's it's a drunk food, you know. Plus, we have, like, taco places open. Well, they're not open 24/7 anymore, but they were. But, yeah, man. Food and alcohol go hand in hand, but you're right. You know, not everybody's like that. So when I get drunk, yeah, like I'll kill some White Castles and some, you know, onion rings and fries. But you're one of a kind. You just want to, you know, that's not everybody's cup of tea. But wow, yeah, I missed that show for some reason. I wish I was there to see that. I've heard of it.
Food references, man. You're making me hungry here. But,
I'm sorry. I had a good dinner today. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But,
let me see. Moving into the next. What would be the next category here? Next category. Okay, you know what? Next category. Favorite. Or I don't want to say best because there's been more than one guest on our show that I'm like, oh, we definitely got to have them on again. But who would you say was your favorite guest here on the show?
Oh, I can't. I feel so awful right now for not remembering who he is. I just recently added him on YouTube. He had an accent, and you freak. He took Rick's place on an event.
Park Boy, 316.
Yes. I liked him. he seemed a little shy, you know, but what the things he said and his way of thinking about wrestling and stuff, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, I love having Mark Boy on the show here.
Yeah, that was my favorite guest. Like, that was the only time that, like, I think I was on a show with a guest, though, in all reality. But, yeah, I really liked him, you know. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And, you know, those were during our series of doing episodes of Collector's Corner, where guys like me and Rick would show off some of our collectibles or recent pickups. Something that we're definitely going to have to relaunch, hopefully for 2021. I definitely want to start getting into that again. But definitely got to get Mark Boy back here on the show. So shout out to Mark Boy. But, you know, when it comes to favorite guests, I have a list. You know, and I definitely couldn't have done it without Rick. And, you know, a little bit of a backstory here. Here we go, story time. So, you know, obviously when the whole WrestleZone podcast had started, it was just Rick. It was just Rick himself. And it was funny because, like, I encountered one of Rick's videos on YouTube, and on his YouTube, it would say the location. So it said his location, and I clicked on it just out of curiosity because I was like, that sounds like around my area. So clicked on it, and lo and behold, the guy was like a half hour away from me. So I was like, holy shit.
That is insane.
So I started commenting on his videos because he was doing like loot crates and pro wrestle what are those monthly pro wrestling loot, you know, just like subscription boxes like that. And you know, he had watched one of my videos where I mentioned Northeast Wrestling, and he was just like what area was that in? And I told him, and I think I kind of got him bamboozled a little, like, oh shit, like this guy's like near me. Okay, let's get together. All right. So we started talking and everything, and he invited me onto the show for the first time as we reviewed a episode of Impact. Because I remember him messaging me like, "Hey, do you watch Impact at all?" And I was like, "Dude, I haven't watched Impact in like 4 years, 5 years since it was good, you know." And you know, he was telling me about the progression and how much it really come back into full form of actually being like a good, entertaining show again. So I was like, "All right, I'll give it a chance." We reviewed that show, and you know, I started picking back up on Impact Wrestling again. Especially after seeing a certain individual by the name of Chris Bay, who was a former YouTuber before transitioning into the world of pro wrestling. I remember just watching him. I was like, wow, this dude used to do wrestling DVD unboxings and shit, and now here he is on TNA Wrestling, you know, X Division champion. So, you know, that was dreams come true, you know, just keep doing what you're doing, follow your dreams, never give up. It's all about the hustle, and you'll end up like Chris Bay. So, cheers to that guy. But after that, you know, it started becoming a weekly thing, a traditional thing. And then he introduced me to you because he was like, hey, we're doing an In Your House retro review. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. So that was a fun episode. That's how me and JJ got acquainted. And I had already knew the DVD Freak this past year, as I just started YouTube this past January. So almost a year on YouTube. Lifelong accomplishment there for me. Finally got acquainted with him. And I invited him on the show one day. I was like, hey, dude, want to do a retro review? And he was like, all right, well, you know, I'm not really good with being social, you know, anxiety and everything. So I was like, all right,
yeah, that sounds like something he would say.
So we finally got him on the show, and that was the formation of the Pro WrestleZone 4. So
Yeah, man. That was crazy because I remember the third or fourth episode I did. It was just like Rick's like, oh yeah, first it was you, us three, me, you, and Rick. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then it was like, okay, now here's me, you, Rick, and DVD Freak. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And yeah, that's crazy how it happened. And we all met on YouTube. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, YouTube. That's all I gotta say. Because
thank you, YouTube.
Yeah, because that's crazy.
Going into like guests, Mark Boy 316, Wrestling Rampage. Shout out to Tommy, Joey, and Pops. Would definitely love to have those guys back on the show again soon. Bull Dread, Mike, thank you, brother. The Beast, the CT, Horns to Asses, JP Dunn. That was another cool guest that we had on the show.
Yeah.
Duke the Dumpster Drozy, Mr. Technical Barry Horowitz.
Amazing episode, by the way. Amazing episode by two incredible interviewers. I listened to that. I listened to all of them, but you guys had Mr. Technical Barry Horowitz just like, you had him at a loss of words because you guys knew so much about his career. And listening to that was like, yep. Like, that was cool, man. I loved it. Good interview.
Even though he does appear on our podcast now, big shout out to Andy, the Greenport Destroyer. Hoping to do videos with him somewhere down the line. Metal Maniac, another cool guest that I saw with Rick. Probably the longest interview Rick ever conducted. That was almost 4 hours.
Oh my god.
Oh boy, who else can I say? Oh, another guy I'd like to give a shout out to is Big Daddy. You know, I'll say that to say this, but he tells it like it is.
Yeah.
Big Daddy. But, you know, I just want to give a big shout out to everybody who's been on our show. So, thank you all. You know, best wishes for 2021. I hope to have all you guys back on the show again very, very soon, along with some new guests further down the line. And it was fun. You know, I never want to leave anybody excluded. So if I forgot your name, when I mean
cheetah with a hide full of napalm. I'm a runaway son of the nuclear A-bomb. I am the world's forgotten boy, the one who searches and destroys. Honey, gotta help me, please. Somebody gotta save my soul. Baby, detonate for me. Look out, honey, 'cause I'm using technology. Ain't got time to make no apology. So radiation in the dead of night, love in the middle